All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Did we just lose one of our guests? We may have.
Might have left.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Off to a bad start, but we are super, super excited about today's episode of the IT Hour. So thank you so much for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining from. Happy Friday. It is the first Friday in June, which is crazy. But we've got something really special planned today. So I want to say good morning to our guests. We've got some very special guests with us. Raj, our CEO, who has been on the show before, but thank you for coming back.
And then we've got having me.
Yeah, of course. We've got two amazing guests from Irrimax joining us. They are a JumpCloud customer, but they have got a really cool story that they are going to share with us this morning. And hopefully we get Chavarous back with us. But while we wait on him to hopefully hop back in, Raj, I'm gonna kick it over to you. Just a brief intro. Hopefully folks know you. But yeah, little intro, and then maybe share if you have anything fun planned this weekend, summer plans. Yeah, really anything. We're just glad to have you back.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me back. I'm Raja Bhargava. I'm co-founder and CEO of JumpCloud. Super excited and delighted to be here. Gosh, in terms of summer plans, we do have a lot of stuff going on in the summer. So I'll actually be in Europe. So for those of you in Europe, I'm going to be dropping by various cities. So hopefully I get to meet some more folks in our community, likely in London, Paris, hopefully Amsterdam, and a few other cities across Europe. So we will let people know, and hopefully I can maybe grab lunch, grab a drink with somebody, or get to meet folks. So that'll be fun. So excited to do that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I know we do have a few folks who join us internationally. So if you're on, yeah, let us know. Maybe meet with Raj while he's over there. But yeah, David, why don't we turn it over to you? Little intro, maybe what you're doing this weekend.
Sure, thanks. I'm David Meyer. I'm the VP of IT for Irrimax Corporation. We are about a $100 million medical device company headquartered in Atlanta. I actually live in Utah. I could go skiing this weekend. We had such a massive snow year that some of the resorts are still open on June 1st here. I'm highly addicted to motorcycles though, so I've got probably motorcycle plans and some kids lacrosse going on this weekend. Thanks so much for having us on, and thank you guys for what you do. The service that you provide has been really good for us, and I'm sure we'll be getting into that in a couple minutes here.
Awesome. Sounds great. That sounds like a very exciting weekend, much more exciting than mine, but Chavarous, you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be truly authentic in IT form if someone didn't have technical problems. So sorry about that. Kick me up as soon as you guys launched.
Oh, no. All good.
Thank you. My name is Chavarous, and I'm the director of IT for Irrimax. And as David stated, we are a $100 million company, and it's very important that we say that because we have grown tremendously in the short period of time that I've been there. And it's just a really proud caveat to add to any conversation when you're talking about Irrimax. David is definitely the adrenaline junkie of the bunch. While he's over there bungee jumping and snow diving and jumping from planes and motorcycle, I just plan on grilling and mowing my lawn.
So come on with that.
I'm still in grad school at the moment, working on my master's in IT. So a lot of my time goes into my studies, my yard, my kids, my wife and dog. That's pretty much me.
Chavarous, you better not tell us where you live, because I think you might have a whole bunch of people coming over for barbecue.
Okay with that?
Right? See, I know where he lives, and it's not too far from me, so you might see me this weekend. Awesome. Well, thank you all. And if you're just joining us, yeah, we've got a great show planned. And without further ado, Raj, I'm going to turn it over to you. But I will say before I do that, feel free, as always, I know we don't have a shy crowd here, but if you have any questions, comments, leave them in the chat, and I'm going to help facilitate some of that conversation. But Raj, it's all you.
Awesome. David, let's start with, tell us a little bit about Irrimax and what you all do, because I think that, I talk a lot with our team that how we help people helps them on their mission. And many of the companies that work with have incredible missions on how they're impacting the world, helping people. And that it really makes us proud when we can help people, help them, succeed at what they're trying to do. So, I think always maybe just starting with, tell us a little bit about Irrimax, what you all are doing, what you're all trying to do in the world. And as Chavarous said, sounds like you guys are growing like crazy, which is nice to hear as well.
We are, yeah. Thanks. I love telling the Irrimax story. It's a great company. We have our CEO Mark Alvarez calls the management team the dream team. A lot of us have worked together in previous companies for Mark. He is a great leader, and as Chavarous said, we're growing very fast. When I started 4 years ago, we were about 20 million. So we're on a really good trajectory. So Irrimax is, we're a medical device company. We have a product called Irricept, which is an irrigation product that's got, the active ingredient is called HCG. And we have a patent that has allowed us to dilute it down to 0.05%. HCG is very nasty at higher levels, but once you dilute it down, it's very, very good at preventing surgical site infection. So our customers are hospitals and surgeons, and one of the big issues they have is surgical site infection. So if they go in and do a total knee replacement and the surgery goes well, the procedure goes well, but then the patient gets an infection afterwards, they have to go back in and try and clean that up and address that. And it's very expensive for the hospital. The hospitals started passing those costs down on to the physicians at this point. So our product, really the bottom line is we help reduce surgical site infection. And we are heading towards and getting pretty close to being standard of care for that use case. Very excited about that. And like I said, it's a great company to work for. We have a dream team of all of the managers in all the different departments. The leadership is great. Chavarous is my secret weapon. You'll hear from him again in a little bit here. And happy again to be working with JumpCloud, and we'll get more to that. But yeah, that's Irricept, and thank you, Raj, for helping us to achieve our mission. Like you said, happy to have great partners helping us with that, which is again to help the medical industry reduce that surgical site infection rate.
Yeah, and obviously you didn't mention the individuals who that happens to, right? I mean, like it's a horrible experience for them to have to go through. I guess it would be in the example you used, probably 2 surgeries, right, versus 1. And,
at least, at least.
Yeah. So obviously you're making a difference in people's lives as well. So that's pretty cool. So let's go a little bit deeper there. So, I would assume the product that you all have built is, highly technical in its own right, maybe not in the IT technical sense, but obviously from a scientific and that perspective. How are you all helping your teams be successful with technology? What's it look like? What's the infrastructure look like? How are you enabling them? What are some of those things that you're paying attention to and Chavarous are paying attention to enable your teams to go do what they need to do, which isn't, worrying about technology, I would assume.
Absolutely. So when I started with Irrimax 4 years ago, we were about $20 million in revenue, and we had very little IT, right? It was a couple of servers, physical servers, a shared drive, and a bunch of Excel and paper files, really. So my mission was to digitize and automate everything as much as possible. When we were back at that point, one of my big things that I said my goal was to not have any more on-premise stuff. That's very 90s. And, you can get anything you want, anything you need from the cloud now. And so that was kind of my first guidepost of what we're going to do with our strategy. Is it's going to be all cloud, all hosted. And, part of the benefit to our users from that is we don't need VPNs, right? When I started, one of the biggest complaints that everyone had is, hey, in order for us to get to these applications and this data, we got to use this VPN. And I'm sure people know and love VPNs, not the complexity and the annoyance of it. So that was another big thing in moving to the cloud. We're being able to leave the VPN layer behind. And so, just making things as easy as possible for our users, at the same time giving them applications and tools that are the right level of complexity for our process and what we're trying to do. And, we are a medical device company, so we're highly regulated by the FDA and other bodies, other regulatory bodies. And so it's fine to be able to do all this stuff, but then we also have to do it in a regulated way, which adds another layer of requirements and complexity. And that was kind of the goals when we started, and we're pretty far down the road on that. And Chavarous and I are really proud of how much we've done, and or we haven't had an outage. I shouldn't even say that out loud.
We're going to knock on wood.
Yep. Yeah, knock on wood. Everyone, please knock on wood. Those days are, and I take some credit for that, but yeah, look, that's kind of the way of the world now. I mean, if you pick the right partners to work with, you're going to have highly available and highly reliable systems, and that's what we've had. And it's almost, I'm sure people on the call that are in IT realize that we're under the radar most of the time, and only when something goes wrong is when people start talking about us and we get some publicity. we really haven't had a lot of publicity from those things, which is great. And Chavarous, do you want to add any comments to that?
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly, David. I do want to stress that our remote workforce is mostly sales, and their time, as a sales-driven organization, is extremely important. And it was important to us that whatever tool we place in their hand, it was easy for them to use, so that not only reduced the number of calls to either David or myself or our MSP, because we do outsource our tier 1, tier 2 level. But it was important that the product that we delivered to them was easy to use, easy to log on, and they were able to manage their passwords and applications in a very seamless manner. David's really good friends with Kate over there at JumpCloud, and she brought this solution to our attention, and that was just it. Once we started reading more about it and performing demos, it was an easy decision to make against the competitors. Very easy.
Oh, are you guys there?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, my computer. We're getting the technical issues going today. It totally locked up on me. But, David, I'd love to just take a tangent for just a second, because you guys are a medical device company. Tell me a little bit about security and how you guys think of that, right? You talked a little bit about the regulatory things that you got to deal with, but let's hit security for just 1 second, because I think that will provide a little bit of a backdrop for everybody to understand kind of what your picture was. And I want to even go back to before JumpCloud, kind of like what you were trying to accomplish, or what you were looking at and seeing gaps of too. But maybe let's start with security for a second.
Sure. So the big regulation that we're on the hook for with the FDA is called Part 11. And Part 11 compliance has all to do with electronic signature and how we capture that electronic signature and have logs of who signed what when. And, JumpCloud didn't really have a ton of involvement on that front. That's really at the application layer. But there are also regulatory requirements about how often you change your password and who has access to what and those type of things. So, we have a policy of least privilege, so people get the access to the least amount of stuff that they need to do their job. And again, like Chavarous mentioned, we wanted it to be as simple as possible. So JumpCloud has been a big part on the SSO side of things, of having one password that they have to change that then trickles down the applications that are part of the JumpCloud SSO portal for us. So, I think the regulation is every 180 days. It's every 90 days. Someone has to change their password per those regulations. If it wasn't for those regulations, we would have that set probably a longer interval, because people, as Chavarous mentioned, our sales force, they're the best at what they do. They're the best sales force I've worked with, but are a bit older and seasoned and not super tech savvy. So run around through multi-factor authentication and authenticator apps on your phone, and how do you get your password changed? It's just as simple as possible is the best for them. And Raj, you guys have really helped us simplify that. So, that's kind of the security part of things. If I go back to the other part of your question, like what were we looking at when we started implementing JumpCloud?
Yeah, maybe just the moment before, David, right? Like right before you maybe talked to Kate, what were the pain points? What were you dealing with? What were you struggling with? Or was it just like what you said? You're like, hey, I want to get everything to go in the cloud, and that's the mission I'm on. But it would be great for that moment just before you met us. What were you seeing?
For sure. So the big thing, as I mentioned, is we're trying to get rid of all of our physical servers and move everything to the cloud. And part of that was the AD server. I think we had 2 physical servers in our office at that point. There was an AD server and a file share. And we were talking to our managed service partner that Chavarous mentioned before. They're called Olmec. They're very good. They're a big Microsoft shop. They were advising us to do Azure AD. And the deeper we got into evaluating Azure AD, there was a couple of yellow flags. It seemed to me that they had taken the old traditional on-premise AD and they were kind of retooling it and bolting stuff onto it to make it a cloud-based service. I had some concerns about that. There was a couple other things. They say they do SSO, but it didn't feel like they had a very strong SSO for other applications. We have Mac users, so Microsoft and Apple are never going to love each other, and the support and the functionality shows that, I think. So yeah, we were right before we started with you, Raj. That was kind of one of the things that was on our radar is how do we get rid of this physical server, and what are we going to do for identity? And right at that same time, our application sprawl was in full swing. So SSO was also a big topic, and that was on our radar. And obviously Okta is out there. We felt like they were pretty big, a little bit too enterprise for us at the time. And yeah, luckily, Chavarous mentioned I've been friends with Kate Lockheed in your company for a very long time. And we commiserate with each other all the time about, what's going on in your day job and what challenges. And I've told her that stuff, and she's like, "No, you have to talk to us." And Kate has the best way of summing things up in a very succinct way. And she said, yeah, Active Directory was built in the 90s for an on-premise world. And that is exactly what we didn't want at that point. So yeah, that's kind of the moment. The moment before we engaged with you.
And let's go deeper just a little bit right there, where because a lot of people, AD, let's be honest, it's been a standard for 20 years and 20 plus years, and obviously Microsoft's done an incredible job around that. But what is it? Did you even question? Is it possible to replace AD, or like what got you to basically even believe that that was possible? Because there's a lot of people out there who don't believe that that's possible.
Well, you're absolutely right, Raj, and we did have a moment, several moments that I asked Chavarous, hey, are we crazy for going away from AD, the thing that's tried and true and proven and relatively stable for so long for so many people? And again, as Kate was a big facilitator to get me, I asked her that question too, frankly. Like, Kate, I sounds like you're happy at JumpCloud, and I love that you're doing good there. But and I'm gonna think about it. But look, this is my career and my credibility on the line here, right? I mean, I'm pretty old, so the saying used to be, no one ever got fired for buying IBM, right? And it's kind of
David,
the same idea.
Yeah, so I actually have we'll take a 2-second aside. I have an edit to that, and I would love people's reactions to it. But so you're right, you never get fired for going Microsoft. But the add-on that I have, you also don't get promoted. Right. And I'm just wondering, is that true, right? Because it's basically, anybody can choose kind of the tried and true. Can you get competitive advantage? Can you get something innovation? Can you get something new? So I'd love your reaction. And if folks have reactions to that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, my reaction is exactly what we're talking about. Is we went through the process and the due diligence and asking that question, are we crazy for doing this, and vetting that really well. And then, then I have to sell it to Mark and Michael, our CEO and our COO. And they're not looking at me saying, what are you, crazy to go away from Microsoft? They have an open mind, but I definitely want to be prepared for that conversation and be able to justify to them, here's what we're recommending that we're going to do, and these are the reasons why. And yeah, back to your last edit there, Raj, is I'm we said at the beginning, I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I'm not opposed to a little bit of risk. Everything I do in my life, sports and motorcycle racing and all of that stuff, you look at it from the outside and you're like, that guy's nuts. He's going to get hurt really bad. And there's a lot of risk in that. But if you really, analyze the situation and do what you can to mitigate your risk and use all the right safety equipment and have the right approach and the right planning, you can mitigate a lot of the risk out of there. And in the end, since we've been with you, there really hasn't been, there wasn't any risk, right? You guys have a great product. It's stable. It was created from a clean slate with the intention of supporting cloud-based applications. And so as you get deeper into the details and the analysis of it, it turns out there's actually less risk for doing that. But yeah, on the surface, you could say, here's the safe decision. Why aren't you taking the safe decision?
Yeah. Chavarous. Yeah, I was going to ask Chavarous, did you have some of that same maybe skepticism or, concern? And tell us what that process will look like for you too.
Yeah, David, as he stated, we had the discussion, are we crazy? And we had that discussion multiple times. It was a little stressful, going away from the large power that is Microsoft. But as we continue to look further and further into JumpCloud's offerings and the amount of effort that you guys put into launching a great product, and then the roadmap that you provided, it was in line with our strategies. And at the time, you were a smaller company, we were a smaller company, and it just felt like we could grow with each other. And your roadmap was directly aligned with our strategy, and it just seemed like a really good decision to make. But it was very stressful. There were a few sleepless nights and wondering, is this the best decision for us? I mean, what is JumpCloud? It's not Microsoft, but then again, it's not Microsoft. So it ultimately became easier as we learned more about the product and we had that demo. It just became an easier decision as time progressed.
So you guys both took the risk, right?
Yeah.
What was on the other side of that risk for you? Like, what was the payoff, the real outcome that you're like, I'm willing to take this risk, even though now you feel like, hey, there's not as much risk, but there's got to be some big payoff for taking that risk. What was that in your mind?
For me, the payoff was, is it easier for the sales staff? Yeah, I can't stress. We are heavily driven by sales, and it's important to us that we make their jobs as easy as possible. And it's a really big risk when you're placing a utility in the hands of people. You're not, the utility doesn't have 100 years of experience. There isn't this treasure trove of community users who have experience with it. So that can be a little stressful in knowing that you're putting forth this application in the hands of a sales staff that's one, remote, and two, not as technically inclined as some of your other staff. So that risk was really big, but the reward of them spending, an hour less, 10 minutes less trying to log in, trying to launch an application, trying to remember yet another password that's not associated to another application. The reduction of time and now that we've placed back in their hands the ability to go and continue to do what they love to do, sell. It was priceless. It's not priceless. We can put a price on it because we're growing, because we took IT out of their hands and let them do what they want to do best, which is sell.
Makes sense. David, thoughts there? Oh, I think we lost David for a second.
Now
he's back. He's back.
Alexa,
we got David back.
You're next.
Oh no. Yeah.
The gremlins are out there today. David, are you back with us? Okay, well, we'll come back to David. So Chavarous, let's keep going here. So, one of the interesting things is that you guys are on M365, right?
Yes.
And so, that's even more interesting that you all chose to use something different other than, say, Azure AD or AD on-prem. Tell us a little bit more about, what your environment looks like there, and why would you choose two different vendors, if you will, and why not just go with the integrated? And I assume that, you kind of thought hard about that one stack.
Yeah. Oh, we most definitely thought hard about it. And, we wanted to make sure that we had an environment, and we've used this word a lot today, easy, because it's a two-team staff. David and I are responsible for strategies. We're responsible for implementations, integrations, handling the vendors. It's just he and I at this small company. So it was important that whatever we did, we made it easy. The reviews and demos that we'd received with Azure, it seemed to be a product that was available. Again, there's this large community, but it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing for us to implement. And that to me was completely counter to our strategy of again making it ease of use for not only our end users but for us. So they're a great product, and I'm certain that there are companies that have implemented them in Azure and done it very well. But for us, JumpCloud was that solution that fit. It was that square peg for that square hole. It worked for us.
Got it. And when you think about like sort of ROI and, how can you go back to your CEO and your leadership that says, hey, we made the right decision here from an economic standpoint. How do you kind of piece that together, if at all? Or do you guys not really worry too much about that?
Well, honestly, we do worry about it because it's a small company. We do have resources, but we try to handle those resources with care. But fortunately for David and myself, we have a leadership staff that is amazing. They support our vision. Of course, it's definitely aligned with the business strategy, but they support us. They support the decisions that we make. So it does give us a little bit of cushion, honestly, to make a riskier decision, application set that we wouldn't normally select. And in this instance, it definitely paid out because the ROI is tremendous. Again, easy. And you guys continuously improve and update JumpCloud and give us more product offerings, which prevent us from having to see other applications outside of this environment. So it gives us that one throat to choke. We could have potentially had that had we gone with Microsoft. We're actually implementing now a CRM product with them and Power Automate and using Power BI. We'll be rolling that out in the next month or two. So we definitely could have went with them, but like David said, you guys are cloud-based. The relationship was there. It just made much more sense for us to go. Definitely glad we did because it has paid off.
And it sounds like for those new applications, what I heard is that no problems integrating that in with JumpCloud. You guys were able to kind of make that all be part of the total environment. Did that sort of work out that way? Any issues that as you went through that process?
Oh, it worked well. That we have had one issue with MFA, but no issues with SSO. You guys have a large enough application library, so we felt comfortable. Then you also have just the generic SAML connector, which made it easy to integrate those applications that don't have a pre-existing connector. And the applications that we do currently have are pretty much industry standard. So the connector was there. There may be one or two applications that we don't have, and that's just strictly from a licensing issue or a regulatory issue.
Got it. Well, let's turn our attention a little bit of what could we do better? What are the features or capabilities that you'd like to see that maybe in the future we could go do? That's always an important part of the conversation too, is, yep, we've gotten to where we are and things seem to be working well, but like, how do we continue to do better? How do we improve? Everything's not always going to be perfect. So, how can we continue to, kind of elevate and do better?
Yeah. First, kudos to your support staff. I think they're the backbone of any great organization. And in this year of 2023, it is not hard to come across a vendor who has a terrible, shoddy support staff. I just want to really, salute you guys for having that in place. I do that you can continue to solicit feedback from your users and just implement these radical changes that you guys have. I mean, you're coming in and it's a paradigm shift. It's good. So while I don't have what I would consider to say a lot of constructive criticism, I think I've been called a fanboy of JumpCloud, and I proudly, because I've seen what bad and terribly, erected applications can do to a company. I've witnessed it. I've lived it. I've helped implement them. Just continue to innovate. Innovate, do things like this IT hour and Crowdcast, post your webinars. That just continue is what I'd recommend. You have a solid strategy that's working. Don't veer off course, because many vendors have, and your customers are the ones that bear that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, this is a great example of the team really working hard to try and learn from customers and also spend time with them and create that community. I mean, ultimately, we want all that feedback, whether it's positive or negative, right? I mean, it's important for us to get that. And the last time I was on here, we got a lot of constructive feedback on things that we need to do better, and people are like, hey, let's improve these capabilities, these features. But I always feel like in general, that's coming from a place of a good place, if you will. Like, people want us to, succeed. They want us to improve. And if we're able to do that, that can help them. So, I feel like that's kind of, that's the intent. And when that's the intent, it's pretty easy to get excited about how can we go make those improvements and have them help the whole community. So thank you for that. I think we lost David again. So Alexa.
Yeah, he did. He joined back and I invited him on. So hopefully
we can get him back.
Able to. But while we wait on him, we actually did get a question. And Chavarous, I think maybe you could help answer this. They were curious because you have MS 365. They said, what MS 365 license level do you all use for most users, since you also have JumpCloud for some security and identity pieces?
Oh, sure. Well, we have the E1 and E3 licenses, but again, we're somewhat of a Microsoft shop, so we use Power BI, all the Power Automate. We have a CRM and ERP licenses, and yes, something did break. Why? Because it's Microsoft, and that's just what happens sometimes. We previously were using the Microsoft Authenticator to log in and authenticate with JumpCloud as opposed to JumpCloud. What is it? Mobile Push or mobile?
It's Protect, JumpCloud Protect, probably.
And that was working for us fine for a period of time. We've since had some issues with MFA and did not want to roll out JumpCloud Protect because, again, we've got a very remote sales force, and we wanted to make sure that it was easy for them. And they've been used to using Microsoft Authenticator, and that is just too drastic of a change to do someone when they're in this very rural hospital area in the middle of the country with no internet connection. So we did have to roll back and continue to use Microsoft Authenticator. It gives us a little inconsistency with the login. Users go from A to B, back to A, back to B. But it works. We do have MFA. We have an MFA, in place. We have great conditional settings in place for our security features. So it was a little small that we're able to deal with.
Hey, I actually have a different question for you, Chavarous. Let's talk about passwordless. You've got a sales force that, as you said, is a little bit non-technical or less technical. How do you think they would react if you had sort of passwordless capabilities where they could come in and, basically log in biometrically and hopefully never have to enter a password? Do you think that you would get adoption from folks? Would they find that better, easier? Or do you think that the change would be like kind of challenging to go through?
I think it'd be easy, and I think it'd be well worth whatever change we have to put in place up front. I was looking at some of your Q2 updates in JumpCloud. Is it Go? Really look at
JumpCloud Go.
Looking to it because that makes it easier. So, again, your strategy of what can we do to make the end user's job easier, that directly affects the admins. That directly affects leadership. If you guys make it easier for them, you ultimately make it easier for us. So if they only have to log in biometrically, that's already in line with how they're accessing their phone. It's just one less step for them to do, one less complication. So whatever upfront work or effort which is required for that in a matter of testing, rollout, that's something that I as an admin would be willing to take on.
Got it. And do most of your machines actually have biometric capabilities like fingerprint or, whether it's face ID? What does that look like for you guys?
Many of the machines do something. Now, all of our Macs, the Macs will do. We have a few Surface Pros in the field which do have those capabilities.
Sure.
Our laptops don't. But that is a change again that the benefit outweigh the risk, outweigh the cost. Something that's seamless for the end user to access all the corporate assets.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, obviously it doesn't take a lot of guessing on what we're interested in doing here. Ultimately we would love to have folks, just basically walk up to their machine and it looks at them, or they put their fingerprint down and you automatically get put in. And then from there, we're able to create sort of a secure connection with all of the various applications that you want to do, you want to use. And hopefully you don't have to, again, enter more passwords or anything like that. And, by being the identity provider, we think we're in a unique spot to do that. But, we want that experience to be incredibly easy and, frictionless for that end user so that they just can go get their work done. But for you, we also want to make sure that you feel like it's safe, it's secure. If there is a problem, there's an easy way to handle it or deal with it. So all of those are, kind of design considerations for our team when thinking about those things.
Yeah, and it shows. It shows in the end result of your product, which is why I have confidence. And when we mentioned this, the IT hour, there was never a doubt. Most definitely, your product shows that your leadership has a vision. You guys are implementing that vision, and it's a direct reflection of just, again, your leadership. Just makes our jobs easier, and the fact that you are delivering us a secure product, I can't say we've had any issues on that level of security. So yeah, it just gives me vote of confidence in your company, and makes me want to continue to renew year over year.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chavarous. David, did we get you back, or are you still without audio?
He texted me. He's having a little bit of cell coverage.
Yep, no worries. So Alexa, I guess I'll turn it back to you. I think we've, if there's questions from the audience, or if anything else folks want to talk about, we're happy to do it. Whatever the topic. But Alexa, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you both, and thanks David too. Hopefully he can at least hear us. But what a great conversation. And it seems like the chat, they've really resonated with everything that David and Chavarous have talked about. The journey of adopting JumpCloud and the experience. So I do want to, let's open it up to the chat here. What questions do you have, whether it's for David and Chavarous about, their adoption journey, or if it's for Raj? What a unique opportunity for us to have the CEO on, not to put you on the spot, Raj.
No, it's okay. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to answer anything.
This is where you shine. So yeah, folks, let's get some questions in, and we can ask our guests here. But I guess while we wait for that to come in, I did source some community updates. Again, Becky's out. She will be back next week, and I know we're all super excited about that. But I did pull some community blogs for her. So there is a new script. Jürgen posted a new script in the community. macOS PowerShell bulk importer for custom policies. So check that one out. Jürgen is awesome. Their new blog with a script here, how to leverage JumpCloud MDM for Mac OS device trust policy in Okta. That was a really in-depth one. So make sure you check that one out as well. And then there was a question, so maybe someone can help answer this one. It was around Ubuntu and not updating the groups properly. So all of that, we'll post those in the post-show notes that I post in the community. So if you want to check out either of those scripts, or if you can possibly help answer that question, we'd love your input. So let's see, what have we got coming in here? So this was a few minutes ago, but Rob said, Chavarous, I know you were talking about some cases with some rural internet. He's had a similar experience, and they've gone with TOGP and JumpCloud, and also use Bitware and Enterprise for password management and TOGP codes. So maybe you want to do that as well. But
yeah. It's that chat's awesome, as I see in there, people saying, hey, same thing here, man. I've had the same issues here. It's just good to know sometimes that you're not alone out here in this IT world.
Totally. All right, let's see. We do have a question coming in from Steve. So he asks, will the biometric implementation on Mac make it work throughout the authentication areas and not just certain logins like the Windows does?
Say that question again.
He asks, will the biometric implementation on Mac make it work throughout the authentication areas and not just certain logins like the Windows does?
The biometric. I think we might need, it's Steve, I think, who had that question. I might need a little bit more help on that. But I think that the way that we're thinking of making that work is that obviously the biometric would work for when you log into your Mac itself. I don't know if we can carry that over to applications, or whether that takes over on our side. And, basically we have that attestation from the OS that you are really who you say you are. And then it'll carry through, and we'll take that token, if you will, that tells us you're really who you say you are. And then we feed that forward. So I think that's going to be a question that we'll have to have our engineers look at a little bit more, because they're going to know much more deeply than I will on that answer.
Yeah. He says on Windows, fingerprints work great. On Mac, it doesn't work everywhere.
Is it not on all machines, or is it just, it doesn't work everywhere, meaning like application logins or, other things like that? So Rob had a note here. I think they're wondering if it will work for things like admin, elevation, et cetera, not just login. I would assume it would work for admin, elevation, because that would give us the confidence that you are really who you say you are, right? I mean, if you were authenticated via biometrics, we could take that as a pretty good signal that you are really who you say you are. Maybe if we needed to, we could add, a multi-factor step, either push or a code if we wanted to make it even more secure. But I would think that it would work for those types of options as well.
Awesome.
That might be a topic we could have one of the product managers or one of the engineers come back and chat about.
For sure.
And we can get, probably a better answer from them.
Cool. We had another question from Jacob who says he's very interested in the app repo features that were in the roadmap. Are you guys leaning towards us uploading installers or running a repo like Chocolatey?
Yeah, so we already run Chocolatey, so we have that today, and I think we have private repo in Chocolatey as well. But what we're going to do here is we're going to let you upload your either PKGs or I think they're MSIs. So the two different sort of standards on Apple and Windows to be able to distribute those, and those would be your applications that you would distribute to your users. So you would upload them to a private repo that we would maintain and host for you, and then you would be able to distribute that software. And that would make sure that you knew that was secure, because you are the one that downloaded that off of either Microsoft or wherever the application lived, and you would be able to double check it, and then you would know that would be coming out. One of the challenges that we got with Chocolatey is that because it is a community solution, there's always a little bit of risk there that people are like, hey, how do I really know this is the right piece of software? Obviously, you can do checksums and you can do other things to make sure, but it's not like you actually physically uploaded that piece of code, if you will. So you always in the back of your mind have a little bit of risk on, did something happen in between? So yeah, Stuart, that's right. You can see it in the Q2 webinar. Maybe we can post a link to that. I think it's up on YouTube. But we can also get the team involved to answer more questions. But the goal here was to make it super easy for you to distribute applications out to your devices, and then obviously on top of that, update and manage those applications, make sure that they're the latest and all of that. So software patching, app patching, things like that. So
awesome. Jacob says, sweet. So let's see. Rob has a comment here. I'd also love to see the option to pass a specific URL for software. That way I can pull from our software repository on the local network instead of 13 gigabytes over 20 megabytes, maybe?
20 megabits. Yeah. So I totally get that. Rob, I don't know the answer to that, but let us take that back and find out whether we're also letting you just drop a specific URL of where that software is. I would assume that we're trying to do that. Just because, sometimes people don't want us to host their packages, right? It could be some proprietary software that they built internally, and they don't want to have us host it, which totally makes sense, right? And so hopefully we can solve for that. I don't know the answer to that, but we'll get back to you. So Alexa, if we can take that down and have somebody follow up, that would be great.
Absolutely.
7-hour download seems awfully painful.
So Raj, we had you on earlier this year, and now we're into the second quarter, almost halfway through the year. What's changed for you? Same vision, I'm assuming, but what are you looking forward to now that we're a little bit further into the year?
Yeah, look, I think same vision for the company, right? Nothing's changed there. We want to, vision of the company is make work happen. And we want to do that through, a directory platform, open directory platform. And ultimately our goal is to securely and frictionlessly connect people to the IT resources that they need. I mean, that's really what we're trying to accomplish. And so the things that we're really focused on are those areas. So the whole concept of passwordless, or making it easier for people to log in to their machines and get access to all of their applications that's still a mission that we have. So some of the JumpCloud Go technology that we're working on that we're going to, release here pretty soon, is going to make that a little bit easier. We're going to be able to make sure that people can use multiple different identity providers, as well as our own, to be able to control applications and manage access to machines and things like that. So there's all kinds of innovation that we're doing there. On the devices side, I think, the team here has already said some of the stuff that we're working on, which is, around the app repository and app catalog, and, continuing to make sure. When I think about devices, we're trying to make sure that you're able to zero touch deliver them, if you will, onboarding. So that's something that we're working on. Obviously, we do that today on the Mac side. We're trying to make that happen on the Windows side. There's a bunch of sort of logistical and licensing issues to that, but we're working through all of those. And hopefully people can just drop ship machines, especially in this sort of post-COVID environment where, we're all, potentially in hybrid situations, right? Not everybody is 100% back into the office. So, being able to deliver a machine and let people get onboarded very quickly and easily and have that machine look exactly the way you want it to look is super important. We're continuing to innovate on the configuration side. You're going to see some compliance efforts from us as well, so that we can make it easier for people to, make sure that they can adhere to whatever regulations that they have to adhere to. We want to make that as easy as possible. We talked a little bit about, making sure that machines are updated and patched, and applications are updated and patched, and software distribution. And then I'd say another area that we've spent a lot of time on is the telemetry area. So, you're going to continue to see more insight into that machine, what's going on that machine. So, right now, I think hopefully everybody knows that we've now done silent mode on our remote assist capability, which, the remote assist is basically a free product that we offer to anybody. And the idea is for you to be able to have full control over that machine. Now, you can do that in a prompted mode where the end user has to give you the ability to do that, which some organizations want it that way. Then some organizations want what we call silent mode, which is you can go in and you can go straight into the machine and not have any user intervention. So you're able to do whatever you need to do. Well, we're going to add some more capabilities to that sort of whole area where basically you're going to have a virtual command line from our JumpCloud console. So I think we'll see that in the next 30, 45, 60 days, where if you needed to take some action on a machine, you could just pull up the virtual console and do that, remotely if you wanted, versus even having to remote into that particular machine. So there's a whole bunch of work that we're doing there. We continue to be very, very interested in, I would say, things like, zero trust and conditional access, and continuing to innovate there. I know one of the big requests has been on mobile devices. If we can, add conditional access capabilities there, that's pretty high on the team's list. So, I think those are just a few of the things I would say that are super exciting for us. And, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're making life a lot easier for our admin community. But then, as Chavarous and David have said, making it really, really easy for end users to be able to get the access that they need, but safely and securely. So sorry, a little bit long-winded, but hopefully that gives people just a little bit of the sense of stuff that's coming out. We continue to have, 500 plus people in the organization that are working on product and technology. So there are a lot of people working on how do we continue to innovate and aggressively add more capabilities that are going to help people with the work that they have to do every day.
Awesome. You have a fan of remote console, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty exciting capabilities, right? It's it really does give a lot of control and power to our admin community to be able to, from their desk, be able to, really do whatever they need to do in an easy way. So yeah, I think it's a great capability, and I hope everybody in the community is using it. As I said, remote assist is free. So even if you're not a JumpCloud customer, you don't want to use us for other capabilities, you can always use remote assist out there, unlimited devices. So hopefully the community, says, hey, this is really interesting and we want to adopt this. We want to put that power and control in the hands of in the hands of our IT admins.
Nick,
Yeah,
we've
hopefully
got
Rob.
Robert.
Yeah, hopefully Rob. I mean, Rob and Jonathan, please give us feedback too, right? If there's things that we can, improve or work on, it would be great.
Looks like
Pre-build commands on that connected machine too. Okay.
awesome. Well, we have just got a few minutes left. So once again, I want to, thank these guests today. And let's give, I don't know if David is back with us, but Chavarous, any, final thoughts that you want to leave our community with, or any, maybe you thought of feedback for us, but anything you want to add before we end today's episode?
Oh, yes. Yeah, sure thing. Thank you guys again for having us and for being a trusted vendor. It's 1,000 options out there, and I just want you guys to continue to remember that ultimately people choose you. And if they had to do it, would they choose you again? And I can say that our answer would be yes. So I appreciate all the hard work and efforts that you're doing. David stated earlier, it's important that we partner alongside vendors who have like-minded interests, and we can grow together and our strategies align. It's awesome. It makes our jobs a lot easier and easier to promote internally, to get end user feedback and to get feedback from upper management. That's all positive. So appreciate all of your efforts and everything that you guys are doing.
Awesome. And I want to, Steve said we should coordinate the feature requests. And I know that is something that Becky is thinking about in the community. I think she's mentioned it on here before, but doing some sort of vote system where you guys could, list your requests, upvote the ones, and we could kind of prioritize them that way. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully more to come. But
maybe a question. I don't know if people want to quickly just respond. Like, are the webinars, product webinars quarterly helpful? Like the roadmap webinars? We put a lot of time and effort into those, and it'd be good to know if those are helping folks kind of know what's coming and they're useful.
Yeah, I think they're useful, and they're not boring, right? It's a conversation, so I think they're useful. It's
Great.
good. I'm tired of
we're getting a consistent set of answers. Yeah, thanks, Chavarous.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know, we have 2 internal all company meetings, and every Wednesday and Friday, there's always new stuff coming, and it's super exciting. So.
Yep. And Steve, absolutely. We want you to help shape it. So if we need to set up conversations with you and the team, we should do that for sure, so that you can get your input in. As I said before, we get a lot of requests, which is great. We want lots more. It's hard to, get to everything. We wish we could get to everything. You just can't get to everything, unfortunately. And then, that gets hard to prioritize what's the most important thing and what's not. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much to the guests. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for joining. Yeah, this was such a great episode, Raj. I hope you'll be back soon. And of course, David, Chavarous, you're always welcome back. It's so fun hearing from customers, and I hope the audience agrees. Normally we have a lot of demos, which are great, but I bet it's also great to hear from some peers in the community. So hope to do this more often. But yeah, thank you all again, and I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, take care.
We'll see you later.
Bye.